We're going to talk about inference in automobiles. We're going to talk about whether Waymo can actually, finally catch Tesla sometime in the future. We're going to talk about Grok and what he thinks in terms of the use of the semi-truck in the US fleet for Tesla. Anyway, Larry, those sound like some fun topics, right?
Yeah, great topics. And we've learned a lot about, certainly we've learned a lot about inference. We've learned a lot. Well, we learn a lot every day. I mean, it's just amazing. But did you see that truflation was at 1.55% today?
I did. I put out a special report a little while ago because there was so much
Oh.
interesting news about Sam Altman or something. I don't know, something was going
I
on. And so I threw that in at the
think
end.
those guys are cooked.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I saw that 1.55.
Well, we've actually had a low, even lower than that back in April, May of last year, when things looked very good, and then we
Right,
went back up again. Because the thing about truflation is that it's actually quite volatile.
right.
And it's volatile because they're taking the temperature at that given moment. And so you don't have the smoothness of trajectory that we get when we look back at, the rear view, what I call the rear view mirror, which, and so there's advantages to both sides. But there's no doubt that we've collapsed inflation from what was a 2.6 number
Mhm.
just a month, yeah, just about a month ago, and we're down to 1.55. Now, whether that's very seasonal impacts and that we'll reverse that a little bit, I don't know. But, the BLS is reporting 2.7%. Clearly, we're not having a 2.7%
Well,
inflation rate.
the BLS is still showing house shelter at up 0.4. I mean, we all know that shelter is not up 0.4,
No, it's not.
and it's 30% or so of the total CPI.
Well, that's the one number that is very, rear window. I mean, that's like as far as the rear view as you can see, because it's like 6 to 8 months, I think.
Yeah.
I forget the exact number, but it really is. It represents what we saw in April and May in the truflation numbers. So really, I mean, I think it's behind us now, and certainly the tariff hit is behind us. Um,
Yeah, because
I
the
can't.
so Trueflation today said the two things that are really down that are causing this
Yeah.
big drop over the last few days are goods, including groceries. And they're saying it, I had actually sent them a note on this, or responded to one of their other posts. I said, it looked to me like there was some goods increase in their numbers
Hmm.
going into the holidays.
Right.
And then
Right.
coming out of the holidays, it looked like people were like, I gotta move this inventory.
Yeah. 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 Which is, which has been your thesis in the past about movements. So, the question, I mean, it's very volatile. It could go back up again, but, we saw, I think it was Goldman talking about a June drop in interest rates.
Mhm, mhm.
My own instinct is that June is definitely going to be a drop in interest rates because we're going to have a new governor
Right.
of the Federal Reserve. That's why they chose that month, I think. Um, but it's more than possible that we could see it happen earlier, even with this Fed governor. He may want to go out on a positive note. So I think there is every possibility that we could see it in April. But if we get another month of this drop, even holding at this price in truflation,
Yeah.
then his goose is cooked.
Yeah.
His goose is cooked. He has to do something.
So the opposite side of that, Larry, is that the bond market jumped today, or I'm saying yields jumped today.
Jumped, yeah, yep, they
But
did.
and so I asked Grok about that. Of course I did.
Yeah, yeah.
And and Grok was like, "Look, we're looking at another inversion." And the because the rates are going up so fast on the long term. I mean, on the 10-year and the 30-year, they're going up so fast that there's a potential that they will eclipse the short term. Um, so the main reason Grok thought this is happening is because going into a weekend, people are looking at all these good numbers for the economy and thinking, what in the heck?
I don't know. I have begun to suspect in general Federal Reserve market activity in this problem of the long-term interest rates. I think the Fed is really doing a lot of market operations to keep the short-term rate low.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the inversion is as much to do with Fed's activity as anything.
And Larry,
I wish,
Can I stop you for 1 second? I
yeah,
realized that I got it backwards a few minutes ago. So we've been inverting, and now with this giant jump today, that would put
in
us
long term,
in
in
the
long
long
term.
term, which should be higher than the short term. I just wanted to straighten that out before we went to it.
Okay. Well, but it still supports my thesis.
Yes,
It
it does.
means that
100%.
the government's activities, so right now they're buying short-term money in the money markets. They say as a market operation. They've stopped selling long-term bonds. So in I mean that should it still doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's something else. I mean, when you go up 6 basis points in a day, like it did today, the yield goes up 6 basis points. That's an unusual hit. And Grok did not give me any unusual reasons. It was, more like here's kind of what's going on. But it could be partially the Iran thing, but I really think maybe the
Why? What?
well, because of just
People are raising the risk levels
right.
because of the Iran thing?
But I really,
Um, no, I don't think so.
well, they've been going up all week, the yields. Okay.
Yeah,
They were
yeah,
they were down at 4.2. I'm sorry, 4.12. And have gone all the way up to 4.23 or something in just a few days. One of the things that I was thinking, Larry, is again that the bondholders, the bond people that like to buy bonds, it's beginning to hit that the 5.3 GDP now number on GDP increase is a real thing. That the amount of money that's going to flood into the system in January, I'm sorry, in March, April, and May from people getting these massive refunds and resetting their estimates it's going to have a big impact. And that some of this money that's been coming in from these other countries in order to build infrastructure, which you figured out months ago and
yeah,
made some plays with,
yeah.
that all these things are for real, and that a five
My
point
my my stocks went up today, which
they
is
do.
significant.
But a
Yeah.
5.3 going into that, I mean, we could be looking at 5 or 6% in the first quarter.
Well, I called for a seven handle this year.
Seven handle now. Okay.
Sometime this year, we're going to see a 7% GDP growth.
Okay.
So that, nobody wants to credit me, or nobody wants to believe me, I should say. And I think you were a little skeptical when I mentioned it. But I think we're going to see an incredible rate of growth in the economy this year. There is a huge amount of money going into infrastructure, a
Yeah.
huge amount.
Yeah.
I mean, I was reading the annual report of one of the companies that I've invested in. I mean, their numbers are stunning. They're a relatively small company, and they're looking at 100% growth
Wow. Yeah.
quarter over quarter
Wow.
in
100%.
their infrastructure business. So I think that we have no sense. And if you look at the GDP Now publication of the Atlanta Fed, you've got the consensus estimate down here in the ones and
Right.
twos.
Right.
And I hear that, people talking with great confidence on X saying, well, there'll be about a 2.5, but definitely a two handle on the GDP. And GDP now is like up at, 5%.
5.3.
And I think they're short by 2%.
Okay. Right. Right. And by the way, that's the GDP real. That is not including inflation. So what do you call it? What do they call it? I forget what they call the other number right now. But if you add supposed inflation at
Well,
2.7,
it's the
now
real
we're at
GDP, right?
8%. Yeah, this is the real,
Theirs is the real
real. Yes.
GDP.
Net of,
Yeah.
yes.
And and so I think that they're short on the real GDP at the 5. And I think there's definitely going to be a significantly higher number. And it's unheard of. We haven't seen it since, the recovery under Clinton, that first
Right.
quarter, the second quarter of that recovery after the brief George Bush recession.
Right.
But I mean, that Clinton recovery was part of the whole Reagan thing. And, anyway, bottom line is I think they're short, but we can move on.
All right, let's go on to the OpenAI trial. Boy, oh boy.
Trial by fire.
Oh, man, the first day is pretty exciting. And Elon
Yeah.
says there's more to come. So what did you think?
I mean, Sam must be regretting buying that $5 million car. I mean, did he do this deal just to buy that $5 million car? Is that, I mean, good grief. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it
So let's see.
doesn't sound good. It
So,
does
so to
not
bring,
sound good.
so to bring people up to date, there was emails and stuff going back and forth where the other founders were saying, "How can we get Elon out?" And we want to get him
And
out.
some of them are saying, look, it wouldn't be good it won't look good if we try and get him out and then we go public and, take it private and make the billions. But billions would be nice.
Yes. And we,
That- One of them said, billions sounds nice, but, but the reality is they got him out. The reality is they're taking this thing they're taking this thing for profit from
right,
the nonprofit.
right.
I don't know how that damages Elon. I'm trying to understand how that damages Elon. I
Well,
understand his feelings are hurt. I understand he feels frustrated that we won't have a not-for-profit company, but I don't understand how the commitment from Altman et al. To him to remain a non-profit. I don't understand how them turning it into profit damages him. So
well, there's
yeah, I think
clearly. Oh, go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, he's clearly got a case on the facts. The question is, are there any damages?
So we are talking about a court of equity, and sometimes the damages could be $1 because of his hurt feelings. That's not, I'm being flippant, but because there was an agreement and there was a reason for the agreement, a direction that the company was supposed to go. So I can imagine the court, and Elon doesn't care about the damages. What he cares about is that they did something which seems unethical and potentially outside of the contract law.
Unethical doesn't matter. It's a question, is it illegal?
Right.
So unethical doesn't matter. The court is not going to
Right.
opine on the
I'm saying that's
ethics.
what Elon's thinking.
Oh, what Elon? But he doesn't go to court because they're
Right,
being
right, right. No,
unethical.
no,
He's going to court because what they did is illegal.
right.
And the question is it illegal? And does he suffer damages that they should pay him damages? Or is there any other way to recompense him? I mean, one thing is very clear. They got him out so he wouldn't profit
Right,
together with themselves.
right.
And I think that is the nexus of, where he finds damages is because they're profiting enormously. And by the way, I don't know that they have profited yet.
Oh,
I don't think the deal's happened. But if they profit, he should profit, and that may be the damages. But they haven't profited yet, so I don't know the law on this thing, and I'm not much of a legal mind at all. So we'll see. I mean, it's very interesting. Very, very interesting.
So Larry, I did a couple of numbers today. Well, I asked Grok to do a couple of numbers for me,
Oh,
but
yeah.
but I'm still doing the prompting here, and nobody else is talking about this. So a couple of days ago, I did the one on lithium. Grok is estimating that the lithium factory down in Corpus Christi is going to save Tesla $500 million just on the lithium component that's going into those batteries.
Yeah,
Still
it's more
to be
than
accepted.
possible. I mean, that number doesn't surprise me, but $500 million is only $125 million a quarter. It's kind of a rounding error.
Only.
Yeah. I mean, it's a rounding error on their financials. It's not a rounding error. Does it replace the volume drop? Does it replace the
Well,
potential?
yeah. Well, we'll talk about the volume in a minute. So that's
Yeah.
one thing. Okay, next. Now this is a
But what's much more important about that 125 million
yeah,
is that it secures his supply chain.
right. In addition.
That's much more
Oh yeah,
important.
yeah. Number two, and this is really a rounding error, but maybe not long term. Grok estimates about 50 to 70 million savings from the usage of automated trucks, their own automated trucks with no driver. And that's with a fleet of about 600. And that would only be for outbound freight and for factory freight. Wouldn't include if they use their own trucks to bring in raw materials. And that's only the United States.
Yeah, they're only going to be available in the United States in the first year or so. Yeah, that sounds right to me. The question is whether they will want to deliver those trucks to third parties first or not.
Mhm.
I think, I think it'll be a mix. I mean, they're using some of those trucks right now on,
Both ways.
relatively limited, both ways, yeah, relatively limited runs. But, it's more than possible they will deliver some to themselves. I'm fascinated to know what their backlog looks like. Fascinated.
Right, me too. And then nobody is taking in terms of production or terms of sales of vehicles for next year. Nobody's paying any attention to Elon's numbers. So Elon expects to have substantial increase in 2026. That would include what do you call it? The standard model, the seven-seater, the increasing sales, hopefully, of the other vehicles great in a great economy. That would include the Model L in China. That would include the Model Standard in Europe. That would include increasing territories, more territories. They just added 2 territories today.
I wouldn't get too excited about car sales in this year.
And then you got semi, that's a vehicle that gets added in there. And you
I
got
wouldn't be
robo
too
taxis.
excited about its volume this year either.
Grok
I think you're
Grok is saying,
pumping the wrong side of the. I think you're focusing on the wrong side of the book.
well, you and I both agree it's all about robo taxis, but there is
Right.
more to the story. There's more to the story.
Not much. I don't think any of those catalysts are of consequence in the coming year. I think there's we saw the growth of vehicle sales in the United States this year. It's not since 2015 that we got this number of cars sold in a year in the United States. And Tesla was down. And I think that's just the reality, that the political situation really cut Elon off from his natural market. And we paid a price. And, Trump removed all the incentives.
Right.
So I think the reality is we're going to see a static, if not even down, revenue from autos alone. Semi, of course, will have a little impact, a small impact in the first year. And there's definitely impact from one or two other things. I mean, I don't understand why they didn't introduce the L into the United States the same time as they did in China.
Right.
That seems to me, it seems to me a really poor decision. I think that it reflects this focus on just the robotaxi. And so I think the car business I think that Elon has said enough with the car business. That's it. We're done. That's my honest take on it. And so I don't see much volume coming from much volume increase. In fact, I think there's going to be a dollar drop and a margin drop from the car business. That's my honest opinion.
Well, this would be one time, Larry, when you and I are on a completely different path.
Yep.
So we'll have to book.
But we've been on divergent paths on this subject for a while. I don't think you certainly haven't honored my view on it in the earlier year, but you see it diverges more and more. I think that it is demonstrated in the fourth quarter, and I think the first quarter is going to demonstrate it even more fully. I think we're going to see, anyway, I mean, I've made my point.
Yeah. So if we look at the first quarter, last year we had factories shut down. This year we don't have factories shut down. And I don't see why there would be any decrease in China compared to last year. Europe was already not great. So I can't.
Europe's declining. Europe is declining quarter over quarter over
So
quarter.
the question is, does it continue to decline? Because we're seeing that in some places it's doing just fine. So
Most of the places that is doing fine are small markets.
Yeah.
The big markets, France, Germany, and Britain, are declining.
Right. But they're also opening new markets. Anyway, I'm just thinking that
Those new markets are hundreds of cars,
if they
maybe 1,000 or so a quarter. That's not going to move the needle.
if we lost all of Europe, in fact, somebody recommended that a couple of weeks ago. Why don't we just close down Germany? So, but
No,
anyway,
I think so actually the German factory, we were told last quarter, made money.
yeah.
So they wouldn't need to close it down. The German factory is very important. Why? Because they're going to be making cyber cabs there. Why? Because they're going to be making batteries there. Why? Because they're going to be making, mega packs there. So I think the German factory is going to do fine. I don't think it's going to do fine with autos.
Okay. Well, this will be interesting to follow the rest of the year, Larry. You were talking to me before we went on air about in-car inference. There was
Wow, it's so exciting.
a
Wow.
podcast the other day talking about this. Would you like to give us kind of an update on what you're seeing?
Yeah, we got a really interesting podcast. WTF is the name, and you should put the link down below. The podcast is a really brilliant podcast. And it was, a podcast of a meeting with one of the 𝐒𝐚𝐚𝐲. He works for XAI, and it's quite surprising how openly he spoke. And I'm sure that he ran all of this by Elon before he spoke, because these guys, and he was a little, he held back quite a lot of stuff. But I mean, it was a fascinating podcast, and I recommend everybody go and listen to it. You hear what's going on. Actually, the podcast is called Relentless, not WTF. But the title of this particular episode is, WTF is happening at XAI. But the podcast is called Relentless, and it's really, really good podcast. I love it. And 𝐒𝐮𝐲𝐝𝐚𝐲, is relatively new at XAI. Everybody's new at XAI. But he talks about a lot of things. One of the things he talks about is the value of AI4 and, of course, soon AI5, but the value of AI4 as an inference computer and how well it works, how much less expensive it is than the alternatives such as the NVIDIA inference computer or even the Groq computer. It's very inexpensive, it's available, and it's extraordinarily productive.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're using it right now to do inference on their, they have a digital twin. They can make an AI version of you so that the AI can do everything you want it to do. You just tell the AI, what you want it to do, and it goes and takes over your PC and does it, which is, one of the ways of becoming highly agentic rather than actually, doing API connections and so on. This is a way of jumping over the whole issue of APIs. That's a little technical, but the point is it's very exciting opportunity. So one of the things he said is, look, such a great computer, this car computer, maybe you can use the 2 million or so cars out there that are AI4 enabled, because people don't use their cars 80% of the time, and those cars are connected by, for the most part, to the internet, and we could just pay for their use, and that would save us having to invest in 2 million or 1.6 million or whatever the number is, AI chips. And, Elon spoke about this last year at one of the one of the quarterly earnings report. So, that looks like they're very close. And he's talking about, that at Macro Hard, they've already devised this digital twin. So it's interesting what's coming, and man, I can't wait for it. I've been using these agentic AI software packages, and man, it's, you have to do everything 3, 4, 5 times to get it right. I'm getting tired of it. It's funny, it used to take me a week or 2 to do what I now do in, there's 3 or 4 or 5 tries, but I'm tired of doing the 3 or 4 or 5 tries already. I want to just do it, We'll see.
Years ago, somebody, I think, made the perfect quote on that in terms of how we operate as humans. He says, we're the only, place, humans are the only people that would pace in front of a microwave oven.
Yeah.
So
American humans in particular.
All right, Pierre.
But the truth is, AI is delivering. I mean, even in these early days, the level of productivity is delivering. I mean, my days of work are shorter, and my productivity is high, and I'm about to be 80 years of age.
It's true.
I don't have to, I don't have to remember the code. I don't have to remember how to code. I don't have to remember, how to connect to the APIs. I don't have to remember where to go to get so-and-so and how to log into. All of that goes away. Right. I just say to the API, look, I want to do this. I suggest you try it that way. Let's see what you got. It gives, and all the stuff about these prompts and this prompt technology and all, the hell with it. I'll just do it twice or 3 times or 4 times to get it right, rather than perfect the prompt. The hell with it. I want to just discuss it with AI and it does it,
Right, right.
you know?
Yes, yes, I get it. Totally, 100%. Pierre Faragu,
Oh,
one of the
one of my
favorite.
favorite of all analysts.
Yeah, everybody in the community loves Pierre. He always has the best questions at the earnings calls. And he's been very, very active on X in terms of Tesla.
Yeah, Rob Mauer used to have, these interviews with Pierre, and really, it's so valuable. I think Faza just interviewed
Oh,
him. I
really?
haven't. Yeah, I think so.
Well, we're gonna talk about his new study that came out,
Yeah,
but we're not going to talk
yeah.
about it today. We've decided to meet tomorrow morning and put together a show that'll be all about Pierre's study. Now, what he was studying, and he's been promising this, he's been teasing it now for like 2 weeks. I kept on, wait, when are you going to actually show us this stuff? So they did he said that he spent a lot of time on this, a very big deep dive on the comparisons between Waymo, Uber, and Tesla,
Hmm.
both short term, the short term situation, as well as over the long term. Because, for instance, I'm just going to throw out a couple of teases here. He says, look, Waymo is probably paying $150,000 a car right now, but that might eventually get down. He thinks it will get down to 100,000. I've got him getting down to 60,000, but what do I know? So, anyway, that's what they're thinking. It'll only get down to 100,000. And then he says, you've got, so far, Waymo is getting stuck. Every community they go into, they're getting stuck at about 15% of the market.
Wow.
So that's an interesting piece of information that's new. But there's lots more of that. This thing is like, I don't know, I didn't even get to finish it before we started today. And it's got to be 20 page, maybe it's 20 pages. So anyway, we are now promising you guys that we will come, Larry and I will get together tomorrow morning and we will put together a show, and that show should be out around 9:30 California time, something like that. So that something you can do before the football starts.
Yeah, it's very exciting to read his material because these guys do a deep dive. Um, and it's exciting to see what they come up with. Um, we haven't heard from him for a little bit, and so this will be really interesting.
All right, then let's talk about the stock and then the stock market a little bit. So we had a big jump this morning up to
Oh,
up to
what happened?
455, and then I'm sorry, 445, and then it slid
Okay.
back all the way to 435 and closed where it was yesterday. I mean,
That's a fairly classic Friday, right?
yeah, we were down 0.24%. Actually, we closed at 437.50. So, oh, and what about the after hours? Real quick here, up 0.02%. So there you go. Um, yeah, so I was trying to figure out what was going on, and I thought maybe it might have been that big X shutdown this morning, the big internet shutdown this morning, might have impacted all the tech stocks.
Yeah, it may have. I realized that it was, but I was on a call, I was on a recording, and so wasn't able to figure it all out.
Yeah, it shut down Verizon and OpenAI, interestingly enough. And yeah, quite a long list of people had no access besides X. But and there was this spike down by NVIDIA, a bunch of folks all about the same time. And I'm thinking might have been just kind of like, uh-oh, you know, the tech world is in trouble here. I don't know. That was a guess, Larry. I don't know.
We'll see.
We're
Yeah.
always we're always guessing anyway. What can we do? So I have a question for you with regard to earnings call, and I know you don't care. I still want your opinion. So even though you don't care, I know you could gin up an opinion. So you say cars don't matter anymore.
Hmm.
You say that the profit from the car division doesn't matter anymore. So if the vehicles are still not out, if we're still not running a full robotaxi service in Austin, hopefully in Northern California too, and not starting to increase the number of cars on the road by earnings call, will it matter what the earnings turn out to be in terms of the stock price, or will we stay in this range that we're in now?
I'm pretty certain that we won't have a robotaxi full-fledged service by the time earnings call, which is only a week away.
We can have, yep.
Well,
Yeah,
less than 2 weeks. All right. Yeah, of course, it's the fourth quarter, so it takes a little bit longer. I honestly can't see it happening, and I can't see it happening until the end of April. That was my original time
Hey,
scale.
wait, no, you said March on Monday.
End of March,
Okay.
beginning of April, yeah.
Okay.
And it could slip to April, who knows? So many political things going on. So yeah, it's possible that the earnings call will go well and people will say great. It's also possible that the stock will go down. One thing's for sure, the stock is going to go like this, and anybody who sells short or buys long is going to be good and bad at different times of the hours after the call, is my view.
Right.
As always, the only thing that counts in the call is the Elon Musk that turns up.
Right.
Is he truculent
or
is he expansive?
mm-hmm.
Truculent will drive the stock down 20 points.
Right.
Expansive could drive the stock up 10, 15, 20 points. Maybe a little bit less, then it could drive it down or more than go. Either way, the damage or the additive, either way, they'll disappear within a week or two.
So
that's my guess.
So if we don't have a full robotaxi service, as you're projecting, by the earnings call, I'm assuming that the first, second, third, and fourth questions will all be about what's going on with Austin.
And so there should be, because not only about Austin, but the other cities, which are the other cities, what's the rate, blah, blah, blah. And they should be, because Elon's raised expectations, and now he should expect to be called on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a negative statement. It's just he has predicted early as usual. He's driving his people with a whip. He is late as usual. He doesn't need to be defensive about it. He needs to be, he needs to be uplifting about it. He needs to celebrate it and say, yeah, we're late, but it's really coming, and it's coming, and give us something to hang our hat on.
Right. Okay. All right. Let's look at the rest of the market. Larry, we had the Dow flat, we had the NASDAQ flat, we had the S&P flat, but all right up there near all-time highs. And we had the Magnificent Seven split. So is that there was nothing really going on, so there was not very many economic reports this morning of any significance. Although we did get a good beige book on Wednesday, in addition to everything else. So it's been
look, we know that the economy is picking up at an alarmingly fast rate. We know that. Nobody is prepared to admit it or recognize it, but it's happening.
Yeah.
Least of all, many of the big banks.
Right. They're saying the consumer is resilient. That's what they're saying over and over again.
I mean, what bull? I mean, we are about to enter into, we are in an expansionist economy. We've left the recession behind. Housing is about to pick up in a big way. And interest rates are about to drop through the floor.
Yeah.
With or without the Fed.
With or without the Fed. Yes. We agree on everything you just said. Oil, Still in the same spot, around 59 bucks, where it's been. Natural gas has come way down, as we know, but it's not that far off of where you and I talked about it on Monday, around 310, 311. But gold and silver finally met their nadir yesterday and down again today. So we've
Mm.
got gold down 0.49% and silver down 2.6% today.
I told you it'll get to a point and then it'll fall like a log.
So we'll see.
And by the way, the stronger the US economy gets,
Yeah.
the more it's going to fall.
Yeah, okay. So we've got time here, Larry. I'm not even close to being smart with regard to the dollar, but I followed it all these years. And I so we know that the dollar is down right now. We know that when the dollar is down, that's good for exports. We know when the dollar is down, it's not good for, you're going to pay more for imports. The dollar is down against the major bunch of currencies, but it's not doing that badly against the broader basket of currencies. What do you have any feelings or theories about where you'd like to see the dollar, or what you think the dollar is going to do if we have a 6%, 7% GDP?
A lot depends on the mix in that GDP. So if the growth is significantly due to innovation, which I suspect it will be, look, a fair piece of that growth is going to be the housing market.
Mhm.
Because when the housing market turns, it's so big that it's going to have a big impact. But I think there's going to be a lot, and the other thing is infrastructure development is going to be quite significant, and that's not good for the dollar because that requires, although a lot of that infrastructure development is happening through investment, right? So,
Right.
I mean, there are so many of these countervailing forces applying. So, in general, I think the dollar is not going to drift down much further. I think if anything, it's going to drift up. That's just my impression.
Okay. All right. I'm reminded a little bit of a rabbit trail here, but I'm reminded the other day I was asking, or it occurred to me, we've got 450,000 manufacturing jobs going begging. That number is now all over the internet. 450,000 immediate positions that manufacturers, infrastructure people, et cetera, cannot fill. We've got a bunch of these young people coming out of high school and college that are saying they can't find a job. And I used the comparison to the fracking years ago, where eventually that got into the news, and all these young people went to Dakota, went to Montana. They all went to where the fracking was taking place, and they got these
Yeah.
amazing jobs. Do you think these young people will finally go, oh, I don't necessarily have to be looking for a white collar job. Maybe I can go this direction where the action is.
I don't know that it plays out to those to numbers that large. I think it has a marginal impact. That's what I think.
Okay. So you don't
Because
see a flocking like they did for fracking. Never mind.
no,
Okay.
flocking for Frank. Oops. Yeah.
All right. Bitcoin up to 25, but still solid, 95, 484. Ethereum following along, 3,300. Any thoughts on the cryptos, Larry?
I don't follow the
I
cryptos.
know.
Yeah, I don't have any thought on the
No
cryptos.
thoughts. Okay. All right. Well, that is all that we have today. There's no pre-market, of course. We have a 3-day weekend, so no market until Tuesday. So I guess I'll just ask you if there's any last thing. It doesn't even have to be wisdom, Larry.
Any last thing? I would say that, you know, We are on the cusp. Our cancer research is on the cusp
Right.
of finding very significant ways to counter cancer. And within a decade, I think cancer as a scourge of humanity is going to be over.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. I could go for that because you and I, we're at that age.
Yep. Yep.
All right, Larry, we will call it a day. And tomorrow morning, I want to remind everybody again, here's the tease. Show up tomorrow morning sometime, around 9:30. But if you haven't ever, actually subscribed to the channel, do that now because then you can hit notify. And then you don't even have to remember because many of you are also in Larry and my age group where remembering that kind of a thing might be a problem. So tomorrow morning,
Right.
Larry and I will talk about the Pierre Faragu story.
And
Thank
I
you.
must remember to post this so people will see it. So, yep.
Okay. All right.
Give me a reminder.
Thank you, Larry. And to all of you guys out there, it's great talking to you.